welcome once again to the Mood of the Nation. India Today's biannual survey being brought to you in tandem with C Voter that's done this nationwide poll. We focused a lot on politics, who will win the general elections if they're held today. But, and there's always a but, there's lots more in the Mood of the Nation.
In this hour, we'll focus on the handling of the economy and the handling of foreign affairs by the Modi government. In Parliament, the government has brought a white paper on Modinomics versus Manmohanomics, comparing 10 years of NDA with 10 years of UPA. Well, we had questions on whether people thought Manmohan Singh did a better job of handling the economy or Narendra Modi. These are part of the Mood of the Nation questions compiled by C Voter for India Today. We'll take you through the responses in just a moment.
It is interesting, Rahul. I don't think it's ever happened before that on the eve of a general election, you've got a political party that comes out with a white paper on the performance or lack of performance of the previous government over the past decade. And the opposition then reacts and the Congress comes out with its own black paper of the so-called Anyay during the last 10 years. It just shows that political parties at the moment are very polarized. And it would be better if they did a public debate on this.
So we can do that.
So we are doing
a public opinion debate.
I would have ideally liked Mr. P. Chidambaram versus Nirmala Sitharaman in the television studio before us. But since they don't want to do that, we'll do the next thing.
Let's introduce you to our guest. Yashwant Deshmukh heads up C Voter. Welcome. Amitabh Tiwari is with us. To my left, Siddharth Zarabi, managing editor at Business Today Television. We've got Rahul Verma with us. We've got Sanjay Kumar of CSDS with us. Also with us at this time is Raj Chingappa, publishing director of India Today magazine. We've got Salman Soz from the Congress and Sanju Verma from the BJP. Last but not least, we have Shankar Iyer, well-known economist, author and analyst. So I want to show you first some snatches of what happened in Parliament, where you had a white paper versus the Congress's black paper. Take a look at the fireworks in Parliament, and then we'll show you how people in this Mood of the Nation poll have responded to who was better economically for them. Take a look at what happened in Parliament first.
मनमोहन सिंह जी पूरी दुनिया जानती है कि वे विश्व के जाने माने अर्थशास्त्र हैं। उनके समय में आज तक की सबसे अधिक विकास दर रही है। यूपीए में उनके ही शासन काल में नागरिकों को फूड का कानून अधिकार, शिक्षा अधिकार, वनाधिकार, भूमि अधिकार, संरक्षण और सूचना अधिकार जैसे ऐतिहासिक कामों के लिए जाना जाएगा।
यूपीए गवर्नमेंट ने कोल स्कैम के द्वारा भारत देश का भयंकर नुकसान किया। उसमें गुटखा कंपनी को, गुटखा तैयार करने वाले को भी कोल माइनिंग में इन्होंने लाइसेंस दिलवाए। इतना गंभीर काम किया है। When you don't put the nation first, when you put your first family first, and when you have other consideration than transparency, the results are out there for you to see. When the results are out there for you to see. So, what happened after 2008? When there was a global financial crisis, and what happened post the COVID shows clearly that if the intent of the government is sincere, if niyat और नियम दोनों सही है तो अच्छा रिजल्ट मिलेगा।
आज आप क्या कर रहे हैं वो महत्व का है। यू आर रूलिंग टुडे। इस इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए आपने क्या कदम उठाया, ये महत्व का है, ना कि आजादी के पहले क्या था, फिर नेहरू जी ने क्या किया, इंदिरा जी ने क्या किया, राजीव ने क्या किया। क्योंकि कांग्रेस को तो आप गालियां देते दे दो, लेकिन ये मेन समस्या है महंगाई का। आपने इसको जो उसको कंट्रोल करना था वो नहीं किया।
Okay, so there are two sides of the story. Mallikarjun Kharge versus Nirmala Sitharaman, and that's what's going to play out in our studio, where we look at, with hard data, how the mood of the nation sees the Modi government's handling of the economy with the Manmohan Singh government's handling of the economy. Rahul.
While the larger picture suggests that people are quite happy with the political performance of Prime Minister Modi, on the question of handling of the economy, it's interesting that the ratings of Dr. Manmohan Singh have gone up in the last few Mood of the Nation polls, and that of Prime Minister Modi seem to have come down a bit. Let me take you through the data. In January 23, 51% of the respondents thought Narendra Modi handled the economy better. That's now come down to 46.6%. Whereas in January 23, 36% thought Manmohan Singh handled the economy better. That's now gone up to 41. So it's not a change in the direction, but the trend line suggests that the perception around Narendra Modi's handling of the economy has come down a bit from last year, and Manmohan Singh's handling of the economy seems to have gone up. Yashwant Deshmukh, how do you explain this? Because this is when the government's brought a white paper. Dr. Singh can look at this data and say, hey, the gap's not that much, and Narendra Modi's in power now. I was in power 10 years ago.
I think two things are at play here. The overall, the opposition alliance, India alliance, talks and everything, Rahul. That might have played into bettering the number of Dr. Manmohan Singh because of coalition talk and everything else. And also the fact that the inflation has been the huge issue. Week after week, day after day, and that we have been reporting for almost 2-3 years now, that inflation and inflation-related issues in running the household have become the major concern from majority of the households. If there was no free food program, then there would have been crisis at hand. Having said that, at the same time, when people acknowledge that the inflation is a problem, at the same time, people who say, who is gonna find a solution to this, a huge majority of them actually name Narendra Modi. They do not name Dr. Manmohan Singh to finding a solution to the problem of inflation.
But the devil sometimes lies in the details and in the way polls also reflect recency bias.
Yeah.
The truth is, we have Narendra Modi ji as Prime Minister now. Dr. Manmohan Singh's last day in the Rajya Sabha was yesterday. He's virtually retired from politics almost 10 years ago. Therefore, Siddharth Zarabi, are these fair comparisons to make? For example, on inflation. In the last couple of years, the Manmohan Singh government was buffeted by the global oil price crisis. Prices went up. The Modi government had the benefit of that in the first few years. They had global tailwinds taking them forward on oil prices were very low in the first couple of years. Is this a fair comparison in the first instance when I bring out a white paper about what you didn't do without even sometimes mentioning what I did? The paper is completely silent, for example, on unemployment.
Rajdeep, since you speak about oil as an example, then I would say that what happened in Russia and Ukraine and consequently to oil supplies, it is very clear that the current government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, went beyond normal economic policy making at the strategic level to continue to buy Russian oil, and also parallelly for almost 2 years now keep pump prices at a frozen level. So if you were to take only the oil example that you gave, it is very clear that the Modi government did far better on managing fuel price inflation. And coming back
but between 2014 and 17, when oil prices were low, they didn't pass on the benefit necessary to the customer.
No,
let's be clear.
Argument,
you see, my point is when you put up two white papers of this kind and a black paper on the other hand, you don't get into the details.
The first 3 years, and this has been answered by the government repeatedly, were basically, for example, again on oil prices, cleaning up the previous oil bonds, and I've said this is what the government says. But just come back here and just one quick point. I would argue that the August dip that we see here is now back on the upswing, and if we were to do this 3 months later or closer to the general election, this number is going to definitely look much better. My argument here is that this dip was temporary. 4 or 5, 6 months, it's back on the upswing.
And why do you think it's on the upswing?
Well, because in the last 6 months, there has been much better management of inflation on the whole. Multiple steps have been taken.
Interesting. Rahul Verma, how do you read this? When ahead of a general election, the government in power says, We're not only going to talk about what we've done, we're also going to demolish what you didn't do or what you did in the 10 years you were in power. Do you see this as part of the Modi government completely seeking to discredit the Manmohan Singh government?
Of course, see, all political parties try to build their positive image on their own work and also try to capitalize on the negative image. In some ways, Manmohan Singh government's last few years were seen as very negative, right? And this is one advantage Prime Minister Modi has carried, which is why, while being incumbent, he continues to play opposition.
Okay, I want to come to the question on unemployment. And here, 54% of the respondents think that unemployment is a very serious issue, not serious plus very serious. 54% say unemployment in the way that it is currently is a very serious issue. 17% say it is a somewhat serious issue. Not very serious is only 5. Not serious at all is 4. Not concerned is 12. So only 21% say it's not serious. The other part of the respondents in this poll say that it is a very serious or somewhat serious issue. Raj Chingappa, if 54% say the unemployment situation in the country at this moment is very serious, somehow it doesn't seem to add to massive anti-incumbency. That's an alarming number. Half the respondents in your poll are saying they're very concerned that unemployment is at very serious levels.
And may I just add, Mr. Chengappa, 54% say very serious, 17% say somewhat serious. Add the two, 71%, 7 out of 10 voters have a concern over unemployment.
There are two issues in this. One is that if I was the BJP, I'd be very worried by these figures, because as it's seen in the failures of Modi government question earlier, the economic issues added up to 54. That was unemployment, price rise, as well as economic growth. This finding reiterates that perception that people are unhappy by the way the unemployment situation happened. As you go down the economic questions, you'll see that. Now, the real issue is there is a dichotomy that happens. On one side, if you ask how does Modi government perform or handle the economy, you'll find that there's plenty of support of it. So how do you explain this paradox where you have two of the most potent electoral issues where he gets a thumbs down, and yet his numbers seem to be doing well on that front? One, as we pointed out earlier, they think that he is doing his best and in a very difficult situation, and there's been a COVID pandemic, so he doesn't get the full blame for inflation and everything else, because there are global issues that are doing it. Two, they still think that they trust him to handle the economy because the opposition hasn't come up with convincing narrative to down it.
And let Salman Soz respond to it, that 54% say the unemployment situation is very serious, yet they don't think that you can fix the problem. They acknowledge the problem, and yet they think that Prime Minister Modi and the BJP are best suited to solve it.
Well, first of all, the people should know what kind of solutions the Prime Minister and the BJP have. None whatsoever. They don't talk about it. They don't deal with it. There is no strategy for dealing with it. And the only thing that I've seen from this government, by the way, is all this talk of we're doing heavy capital expenditures, big infrastructure. That is what they keep talking about. They keep harping on it. And I think that is exactly the wrong thing for India to do. You're taking scarce public resources because your investment numbers are not up. By the way, you may be interested to know, without investment, you cannot have jobs. And by the way, the investment ratio under the Modi government, the best that they've done is worse than the lowest under the Manmohan Singh government. Think about it. The investment ratios are so low. So you cannot hope to create jobs unless you actually invest in micro, small, and medium enterprises. You've got to focus attention on that. On the one hand, you have to have, by the way, the government doesn't really talk much about, you need education, you need skill development, you need employability. And then on the other side, you need entrepreneurship, small entrepreneurship. You want big job numbers? Go small. They're doing the exact opposite thing. They're going big. And that big thing, I know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they think the big corporates, they can grow the economy and India will look good and all that. No, it doesn't work like that. that may benefit the BJP through electoral bonds and other things, but it is bad for India. Let the corporates deal with their, the corporates can take care of themselves. They don't need anything from the Modi government, except what they need is, a kind of a steady economy, no uncertainty.
Mr. Soos, we have a number of guests today. We've got lots of graphics to go. I know you feel strongly about it, but I will ask all my panelists, including Sanju Verma, who's dying to weigh in, to keep their interjections relatively short.
She hasn't even started and you're keeping her short.
I'll tell you why. Because it's very interesting, Sanju Verma. Your government has brought out this white paper. The white paper does not contain the word unemployment anywhere in it. It's almost as if you decided things that the government should be worried about are not in the white paper. Let's paint a rosy picture of the last 10 years and a horrible picture of 2004 to 2014. Why is the word unemployment not even mentioned, not even by one word, in a large document on the state of the economy?
Okay, that's a lengthy question. And I am not dying to weigh in, I am very keen to weigh in. Let me rephrase what you said. Now let me give you some hard numbers. I am not somebody who says, oh, I believe when India Today says that the BJP will win 303 or 304 standalone, 335 with allies. But, Sanju Verma will sit here and debunk what the India Today survey says about the economy. But I disagree, and disagree very strongly with you on a couple of facts. And when I say you, I mean, the survey that you've carried out on the economy. Now, listen very carefully, and I think your audience needs to know this. I've written on this exhaustively, and I've spoken on this equally exhaustively. First, let us look at the EPF and ESIC data. The EPF captures any factory or establishment which employs 20 or more people, and the ESIC captures any factory or establishment which employs 10 or more people. Now, people say that, EPF and ESIC data is not accurate because people become subscribers even though they do not receive a paycheck. Fine, we will deal with that. Just bear with me for 20 seconds. Now, combined EPF and ESIC, on an average, in the last 10 years, the monthly addition has been 2.8 million, 28 lakh subscribers, which means every single year, 3.36 crore subscribers, which means in the last 10 years, 33.6 crore subscribers. Round that off to 34 crore subscribers. Now it is true that all these 34 crore subscribers are not new subscribers. There could be duplication. I take that into account, and the data says that 63% only of this 34 crore subscribers are new subscribers who got employed for the first time in the age bracket of 18 to 25 years. So assuming a conversion rate of only 63%, what does that tell you? I think we should communicate this more strongly. When I say we, I mean the BJP.
No, so why? At the moment, Miss Verma, the same advice that I gave Salman shows. We have limited time. You did not answer my question. No, you did not answer my question. A white paper comes out from the government. Your own periodic labor survey of 2017-18 said that unemployment was at an all-time high of 45%. And you do not have a reference to it? No reference? The survey, are you saying Yashwant Deshmukh survey? Just a minute, ma'am. Just a minute. Just lower our voice. 71% as per the survey said unemployment situation is serious, very serious or somewhat serious. You bring out a white paper, you do not mention the word unemployment. Your own periodic labor survey put unemployment at a 45-year high in 2017-18. I mean, somewhere there has to be some acknowledgement of the problem. How long are you going to run away from it?
Can you please keep quiet for a change? Then you say, Sanju Verma, you get personal with me. Are you a panelist or a journalist? You ask
no, I am a journalist who asks questions. I will tell you who I am. I will tell you who I am. I am a journalist who asks questions. I will not let you get away without answering it.
It is my duty to give you answers. It is your
You're not giving the answer. Why did a white paper of the government of India not mention the word unemployment?
Why are you getting rattled? I'm giving you my answer.
I will ask you questions. I will ask you questions.
I'm giving you the answer. You're not in a war with me.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, yes. Keep quiet now for 30 seconds. Thank you. Hold your horses for 30 seconds. Yes, zip it for 30 seconds. So basically what I was saying was, if you assume this conversion rate of the EPF ESIC data of 34 crore subscribers is only 63%, that means we've added 21.42 crore jobs. To that, I'm not even adding the 43 crore loans under the Mudra Yojana, which were dispensed, out of which 30 crore loans were dispensed to women alone. I'm not even talking about the 1 crore jobs that were created at the height of the pandemic under the Atmanirbhar Rozgar Yojana.
30 seconds up.
I'm not even talking about the Prime Minister Employment Guarantee Scheme. Simply on the basis of EPF and ESIC data, we've created 21.42 crore jobs.
Okay. So that's what the BJP spokesperson is saying. Let's look at the response to the question of, has the Modi government been able to create enough jobs? 32% say yes. Few jobs have been created, say 25. Not at all, say 31. In most of the responses we've seen, Shankar Iyer, the approval ratings of the government are very high. On this one question of jobs, opinion is very divided. There are those amongst BJP supporters as well who don't think enough has been done to create new jobs. And therein lies the problem. Unemployment and job creation are the two big challenges, along with price rise, this government confronts.
Well, obviously, if you look at your own data for the last 3 years, you will see that these two issues, unemployment and inflation, are flagged persistently, consistently, and have been flagged by the magazine and the survey. If you look at the data per se, I mean, inflation is the real issue. Last month, food price inflation was 9.5%. I mean, inflation overall might have been 5.7%, but food price inflation is what hurts the poor the most. And mercifully, you have a free food scheme going on. Things could have been worse. If you look at the employment data, there are over 2 million government posts vacant. And the Prime Minister has taken up a scheme to announce jobs every 45 days or 2 months. And that is a recognition that there is an issue in public sector employment. If you look at the periodic survey of labor force, it tells you that only 1 in 5 persons in India has a salaried job. 35% of people are holding casual jobs. And India is among those countries which has the highest number of people who are self-employed. You can look at the data at any which way, but the survey is telling you a story, and the survey is being, there is a political response to this also. The fact that we are spending X amount on Manrega, the fact that states, when they go to polls, have to talk about direct benefit transfers to women, the fact that, you had to extend the free food scheme, all of this tells you a story that there are far too many people located in agriculture. I mean, 45% of the workforce depends on 1/6 of the GDP. So that's one side of the story for you. The second side of the story is that we are in a difficult place. There is not going to be any China. And if you look at, Rajdeep was asking about why there is no mention of unemployment in the white paper. Yesterday, the former chief economic advisor did a comparison of Manmohan Singh regime and Modi regime. And he, of course, very conveniently forgot to mention demonetization, during which he was chief economic advisor. So contextual convenience is part of the story. But the mota-moti thing, which Yashwant might be able to expound more about with his data, is that neither the BJP is able to articulate how well it has done in job creation. Now, obviously, if the government has spent over 60 lakh crores in infrastructure, jobs would have been created. Where have those jobs been, and why isn't it getting flat? I would have hoped and thought that the white paper would do a comparison of the job creation. Take it to the opposition. The opposition has never been accused of strategy or intelligence. And of course, they don't have a plan as to how they will fix this problem. And people of India have to switch on the TV at 9 p.m. every night and wonder which side is telling the truth.
Okay, so therefore, Sanjay Kumar, picking up from what we just heard, the political angle of it. It's very clear from our data that jobs is a serious concern bedeviling the government at the moment. And yet, most people believe that the Modi government is more trusted when it comes to providing jobs. Is it again back to the trust factor? The fact that they hope and they believe the Prime Minister is making an effort in a way to provide jobs. That's where he scores in a way over the opposition, which doesn't seem to have a Rozgar plan.
Two things, Rajdeep. First, how serious is the issue of unemployment? It's not only in this data. If you look at the data from the earlier Mood of the Nation survey, it also indicates that unemployment is a big problem. And I should also mention that the surveys which CSDS has been doing, time and again, this comes out as a big problem, even in different states. But I think the trust factor, which you mentioned, that is the silver lining. In a sense, people believe that, yes, unemployment is on the rise, price rise is on the rise. But when they look at the other options, that who is more capable of solving these issues, I think they feel a little disappointed when they look at the other options and when they look at or imagine their capability of handling these issues. So I think
because the unemployment numbers, Rahul, one of the states where it was highest was Rajasthan, where the Congress was ruling Rajasthan. I just wonder, Amitabh Tiwari, whether that's part of the problem. Where is the model state that the opposition has provided?
But unemployment is also so politicized when it comes to statistics that you don't really have a full real picture of the unemployment situation in the country.
Absolutely, and very interestingly, Rahul, I spoke to a pollster yesterday, or a politician actually now, and he said, go back to the first poll ever conducted in India in 1950s. What was the top issue? They said unemployment. In 1950s. So unemployment, Rozgar has always remained a big issue in this country. So I just wonder, Amitabh Tiwari, what could the opposition do? If this is the vulnerability of the Modi government, what could they have at all done to ensure that people would say, no, opposition has a better plan?
See, first of all, you have to make people aware that unemployment is a big issue. See, what is happening is that there's a lot of focus on issues, but issues are not the only voting consideration of people. That's number one. Second is we have to go behind this data, because this data captures everybody. Is unemployment the biggest concern of unemployed in India? That's the most important question. Or is it Hindutva? Is it leadership? Is it something else? What is the voting consideration of the unemployed people? If people like you and me are saying unemployment is a serious concern, it does not translate into votes.
Well, Amitabh, that's the point. I mean, election issue and the issues are two different things. Electoral issues are different and issues of the life are different. However, one thing which I am kind of amused always when I'm taking a deep dive in the data, I look into the state-wise things as well and see how and which states. Conventional wisdom says that, you know, where the unemployment rates are being focused at very high, it would come out as a sentiment of a high priority issue. But the thing is that it is also about, like, say, for example, the numbers in Kerala, numbers in Gujarat, they do not come that much because somehow micro-entrepreneurship is something which is taken in as an employment in some of the states, and some of the states, the employment means a sarkari naukri or a naukri. That's also a problem.
That's a very good point. Yes, Siddharth.
Very quickly, post-COVID, there has been a fundamental change in the way employment is looked at in India. Post-COVID, we saw a bump. But we must keep in mind, because this survey has been done recently, that over the last 2 years, almost 450,000 IT sector jobs, which is one of the biggest annual employers in India, have been lost worldwide. Around 12% of those job losses have happened in India. And in the current placement season, if you go across IITs
or IIMs,
IITs particularly focusing on the engineering talent, there has been a deep sort of decline in campus placements. And one final piece of data. Around the time Prime Minister Narendra Modi took office, we were producing around 700,000 plus engineers annually. Today that number has doubled, but has job growth kept pace? Has technology created or reduced number of jobs? We have to keep that in broader perspective.
All fine points. Yes, Rahul, quickly.
First, to add to your point, in any survey, 4 issues are going to dominate: development, corruption, unemployment, price rise. So issues of life to become issues of politics, there has to be politics done on it, right? So one thing, it's not just about the question of trust. What opposition is failing to do is find a language to convince people that this is an issue on which you need to come out and vote. Unless you do that, politics has to be created. If you don't create it, it's just a thing that people
I want to come
about.
to the next question in this poll, which is to do with people's economic status. And what should concern the government is that 35% of the respondents in this question say their economic situation has got worse since the BJP government came to power. 33% say it's improved, 29% say it's the same. But the maximum responses in this poll are for those who think their situation has got worse. Now, while your political scorecard really reads 10 on 10, it's the world's best political scorecard, amongst the best potentially in modern political history, Sanju Verma. When it comes to the economic scorecard, it's a far more mixed picture. It's not an abysmal picture, but it's a far more mixed picture. How are you looking at the fact that the maximum number of respondents say their economic status now, they believe, has actually got worse since the government of the BJP took power? Sanju Verma.
Okay, Rahul, I want to ask you one question. You know, if you're saying that, 54% of the people feel that unemployment is a very serious issue. 62% feel that the status has been either same or only improved marginally. I mean, it is such a big dichotomy. Then you're saying that despite unemployment being a serious issue, inflation being a serious issue, people are still going and voting en masse in large numbers for BJP. Something does not stick, and I will tell you why. I think the question that you should have asked on the employment bit is, do you feel that in terms of livelihood, you're making enough money? Because livelihood takes care of a 9-to-5 job. Livelihood takes care of whether you're working in a startup or in a unicorn. Livelihood also takes into account the DBs who work as part of self-help groups. Livelihood also takes into account whether you're working in a factory establishment covered by EPF and ESIC. Livelihood also takes into account whether you're working in a Wipro, Infosys or TCS. So I think your entire question has been very negatively framed, and I debunk your conclusions on the economy when it comes to employment. Now coming to whether people are better off or not, I want to tell you something, and this is data that the government has put out. If you look at the Niti Aayog's latest report, it says that as per the data filed and received from the income tax filings under the CBDT, in financial year 2010-11, the average income of people was 3.2 lakhs per annum. Come financial year 2023, because data for 2023-24 is not yet out, the average income as per CBDT of people per annum is 14.2 lakh. So kaha 3.2 lakh, 3.4 lakh per annum, and now 14.2 lakh, 14.4 lakh per annum, which means you're talking not just of 100%, 200%. You're talking of a 3-time or a 4-time jump in incomes.
Can I just stop you for a moment? We asked the question, forecast of household incomes. Will improve is 25%. 1 minute, ma'am. It's a perception. Will improve is 25%, will remain the same is 36%, will worsen is 30%. So 66% believe will remain the same or worsen. And certainly post-COVID, we've seen, and there are other data also, which suggests that incomes have plateaued at times, and therefore there is, particularly at the bottom of the pyramid, which perhaps explains why the Prime Minister has extended the free ration scheme for 5 years. There is genuine distress even now. The point Salman shows is, if there is distress, if there is concern, it's not as if this is translating into a political mood which says the opposition will handle the situation better.
No,
at the end
that's where Rahul Verma had a good point, that you have to do politics around this issue.
Yes, so what is the narrative? You see, you come on TV shows and say the government is doing nothing. You tell me one model state that you've offered. The opposition could have offered one model state in the last 10 years and said, this is the state where we are providing a job opportunities which we could scale up nationally. You've not done that.
Well, Rajdeep, you gave the BJP spokesperson in this particular time 2 minutes. Please give me some time as well. First of all, let me just say that I observed the BJP spokesperson bullying an anchor on this television show. The Prime Minister and the BJP president should be ashamed of such misbehavior on television.
That's between me and Ms. Verma. Don't worry about that. I'll handle it. Let me come to some.
Let's talk about what's happening on the ground. You say why is this perception there? Because real wage growth in the rural areas is stagnant and dropping. In fact, that's the problem. You see, in the rural areas, your wage growth is flatlined or gone down. No wonder you're seeing these kinds of perceptions about how our situation has deteriorated.
So where is your model state? Rajasthan had the highest unemployment when Mr. Gehlot was in power.
Because states have one responsibility, but there's also the central government. Let me just give you. Try to explain why this is happening. Then I can tell you what we've done. Just take LPG as an example. LPG prices, including subsidized LPG prices before they give this additional subsidy, was 250% higher, the price. Subsidized LPG was 250% higher than when Manmohan Singh government ended. So that people can feel, they can feel it every day. And that is why you see these perceptions. By the way, Sanjay Verma talks about income growth, right? Let me tell you about income growth. This is the government's data. This is the Modi government's data after revising the UPA growth downwards. The per capita income growth in India under Dr. Manmohan Singh was 180%. 180% growth.
Let's come now to the next question, because we also need to keep rolling and ensuring that we're able to take you through all the data sets that the survey has covered. And a big point of concern for the government is the response to the question, who's benefited from the government's economic policies? Half the respondents think it is big business that has benefited from the government's economic policies. 11% say it's small businesses, 9% say farmers, the salaried class is only 8%, and daily wage earners is only 6%. This again, Amitabh Tiwari, is one of the Achilles heels. The problem is, instead of trying to attack the Achilles heels, the opposition is all over the place. There are points which the opposition could attack and try and make a bigger meal out of, but that's not how their strategies actually worked out. And it just shows how lucky the Prime Minister and the government is that they're doing what they need to do and the opposition doesn't know what to do.
But can I just, before Amitabh comes in, ask you this, Rahul? The fact is, Rahul Gandhi, the much maligned Rahul Gandhi, is the one who keeps raising that this is a suit boot ki sarkar, has raised the fact, ye to Adani ki sarkar hai.
But he has not
why does that traction not work?
Because, again, it's a problem of communication. This government has given a benefit of 1,50,000 crores per annum as way of a corporate tax reduction. Today in India, the personal income tax collection is higher than corporate income tax collection. That's a strange phenomenon over the past few years. And despite that, in 6 months of getting that benefit, corporates were firing employees during the COVID.
No, but my point is, why is it that when Rahul Gandhi raises this issue, it hasn't lifted Rahul Gandhi's ratings?
Because you say, Rajdeep, I mean, I can answer that question. Probably, and most probably, that they don't see him as a solution. All right, that's the bottom line. You are raising an issue. Are you a solution? No. But if you come up with an affirmative thing, say for example, on the issue, in the recent past, on the issue of unemployment, one guy who actually reaped and almost became a chief minister was Tejasvi Yadav, when in the last 1 month of Bihar campaign, he only talked about Rojgar, hum naukri denge, hum naukri denge, hum naukri denge, and the youngsters who start swelling the crowd in his rallies was remarkable. Remarkable.
That very good point. Is it only because of that, or is it Shankar Iyer also because the Congress itself? I mean, how you can target, Rahul Gandhi says, ye Adani ki sarkar hai, but there is Revant Reddy in Hyderabad signing agreements with the Adanis. The Gehlot government did so. And the Congress carries all the baggage of the past when they were seen as the party of big business. Can you overnight politically convert or say, I am the party of the MSME?
Well, the Congress titled its report yesterday, whatever black paper, white paper, as Anyay report or some such thing. I mean, the real Anyay is that the party was in power in 6 places. None of those states implemented even one of the ideas that was part of the 2019 Congress manifesto. And one particular point that I would say is that they had a very good idea of providing employment for women. India's labor force participation of women is very low. No other country, no developed country has as low. I mean, it's improved now, but that is one idea they could have done, but they didn't do it.
The other thing which is of huge concern is the response to the question about whether expenses are going up, are they manageable, or is it becoming difficult to manage? Here, 62% of the respondents say things are getting difficult to manage. Expenses have gone down only 5%, 33% say expenses are up but manageable. Difficult to manageable is 62%. That's a big number, Siddharth Zarabi. 62% of the respondents thinking things are either difficult or just about manageable when it comes to household expenses.
When the rate of price growth is kept stable, that means inflation is being made stable, but it doesn't mean that prices of products have actually fallen. So in some ways, the price rise that we have seen across product and services remains, and this is a reflection. But if you look at it, Rahul, on a longer term basis, and I'm looking at the January 2023 data, there's just a marginal increase. And if you look at August again, in fact, current expenses have become difficult to manage, has actually fallen by 20 basis points. So if you see this, it's very clear that some of the effort that has happened on inflation control is coming through in many of these answers, particularly after August.
Would you therefore say that if I were to compare, since we started with Manmohan's years versus Modi years, on inflation, Modi government's record much better. On growth, interestingly, if you look at numbers, Manmohan Singh's record slightly better. On fiscal deficit also, if I look at numbers, Manmohan's not bad. Inflation is where the Modi government has perhaps scored over the Manmohan Singh government, particularly the last 5 years of Manmohan's government.
Absolutely, and by making the distinction between those who can afford it and those who cannot, that is the proper political messaging. The targeting of subsidies, Radeep, is the magic that has worked. And remember, in phase 1 of Manmohanomics, the first 5 years, the tailwinds were from what Vajpayee ji had said for them. The remaining 5 years were pretty much an abysmal performance. For the Modi government, after the first couple of years, inflation control has become a priority. COVID was a pivot as far as that is concerned. And the post-COVID inflation management, I think, is stellar, and the rest of the panel would agree on.
So here's the response to the question on outlook on household income. 30% say their household income is likely to get worse in the next 1 year. 36% say it will stay the same. 25% think it will improve. So only 1 in 4 at this moment seem to have an optimistic outlook on household income, whereas 3 in 4, Sanju Verma, say either household income stays the same or in fact it could get worse. So people aren't, I know the BJP is exuberant, you're enthusiastic about 304, but people, when it comes to a question of household income, are quite concerned about their future.
Okay. Now, I don't wish to be heckled by your co-anchor. I will make some very quick points, and I completely debunk the survey results when it comes to the economy in terms of what the mood of the nation says, and I'll tell you why. I showcase to you that from 3.2 lakh per annum, the income currently, as per CBDT data, is 14.2 or 14.3 lakh.
Throwing numbers, you can't change the mood of the nation. Sanju ji, by putting out the data that you can't change the, you can't say, I love the fact that we'll get 335 seats as the NDA, 304 as the BJP. No, but here's the point. You must, ma'am, no, I will allow you to finish. Hear what I'm saying. You can't say we like the fact that we are coming back to power and that part of the mood of the nation is perfect, but ye mood of the nation theek nahi hai. How can that be the case? Yes, you must. Go on.
मेरी freedom of speech है ना. आपको जो दिखाना था आप दिखा रहे हो, मेरे को जो बोलना है मैं बोलूंगी. You can't ask me to speak what you want me to say. It is my FOE, it is my freedom of expression. I will say what I believe is the truth. Whether you believe it or not, that is up to you. Now let me come in and do not heckle me. Point number 1. Forget about the fact that there has been a 350% jump in income as per CBDT data between FY11 and FY23. Forget that. 1.65 lakh units are being sold by Maruti Suzuki every month, which means every 5 minutes, Maruti is selling a new car in India. 1 lakh tractors are being sold every month in India. 25 lakh motorcycles and scooters are being sold every month in India. It is said that 46% of the global digital financial transactions happen in India. Last month, we saw UPI did trades worth how much? 19.5 lakh crore, which means close to 6 to 7% of GDP in a single month. Then 18 lakh crore is what was the procurement by the Modi government for only wheat and paddy, as mentioned by Draupadi Murmu ji in an address a few days back. And it says that the biggest contributor to the rise in demand for motorcycles, for cars, for SUVs has come. 57% of the demand on an average comes from rural and semi-urban areas. Then I will tell you something more.
No, 1 minute. Your numbers, no, ma'am, we have to give equal time. We have to give, I'm not helping you now. No, I have to stop you because we are giving equal time. Rahul Verma, the numbers that Sanju Verma gave are not wrong. Some of the numbers when it comes to purchase of autos or motorcycles are not wrong. How does that fit in with a survey like this? Is it when you go into a survey, a person is generally seeing the mood around him or her, even though the actual data does suggest that people are slowly going out there and purchasing consumer durables now?
See, with the question on economy, we all look only at the slices of things. And when we look at slices of things, we can make an argument, whoever wants it. In India, inequality is rising undoubtedly. But also, middle class section is rising, which is also leading to more consumption, which is also leading to more price inflation. So all of these things are linked. But my final point, in Indian politics, economics and politics are divorced. Not from now, from 1950s. Most elections, economy and politics don't go hand in hand. Between 1950
You don't agree. Sanjay Kumar doesn't agree with that.
2014 election, remember, because 2014 election, BJP won in a big way on two issues, corruption and price rise, and also people facing difficulty in their day-to-day life. So 2014 is a recent example when we saw economy shaping the political outcome in a very, very big way.
No, but can I just shape that to say these economic distress signals can of course shape politics if you make the effort to try and get them to shape your politics, and if you can convince voters that you have the solution, like candidate Modi in 2013-14 was able to convince the Indian voter that he could do a better job. Right now, there are clear signs of problems, Rajdeep, but the opposition doesn't have the credibility. People say, "Ha, problem hai, but Modi fix karega."
You see, in 2014, Mr. Modi promised Achhe Din. Now, we can debate, depending on which side of the divide you are, whether Achhe Din have come. As per the mood of the nation, most people believe that there is a hope of Achhe Din. They're working on hope, the trust that Achhe Din will come. They may not have come today, but the hope that they will come tomorrow. Salman, so I just want in 20 seconds you to answer what Shankar Iyer had earlier said, because just for equality of time, do you have one big idea? As Rahul said, 2014, Mr. Modi, through a slogan, offered an idea. Do you have an idea? 20 seconds. Before the general elections, to convince these voters that you will give them a better tomorrow. Achhe Din.
Rahul, can I just take 20
Rajdeep, the biggest idea that India should run with is to go small. Go small in terms of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Try to create the entrepreneurship kind of ecosystem. That will actually drive growth in India. That will
Sanju's asking for 20 seconds. Sanju, exactly 20 seconds.
But
Go for it.
She's been talking all this time.
Rahul, I need my time. I've been heckled way too much on this show. Can I just take 20 seconds?
I know we are being accused of being unfair to both sides of the political divide. I mean, how does that?
I think we should end it here because Sanju, you got
only the 20 seconds to do. अच्छा 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds.
Thank you. Okay, Rahul, it took us 60 years to reach the first $1 trillion in GDP. And today we are a $3.8 trillion economy. When Modi took charge, it was $1.9 trillion. Today we are at $3.8 trillion. That is a 116% jump. And if you're saying there has been a 116% jump in GDP or jobs nahi create hui, when the FDI is close to $600 billion, when the infrastructure sector today has a size of 65 lakh crore, then you are fooling
yourself.
Give me
10 seconds, please.
Okay, 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
All the stuff about we have $600 billion in foreign exchange reserves and we have so much FDI. Just look at that as a ratio of the economy, the size of the economy.
Next to GDP,
Dr. Manmohan Singh is far ahead.
Don't intervene.
GDP ratio is
They only talk about absolute numbers. They're scared of talking about ratios. They're scared of talking about ratios because they cannot compete on ratios. So, by the way, you need to talk about import cover. Forex reserves of $600 billion will get you 8 months of imports. Just check the Manmohan Singh numbers, you'll find.
So we're out of time. The economy highly contentious in the mood of the nation, not so contentious in the political sphere, where the Prime Minister seems to be dominating. But I want to tell our viewers that no matter what you're hearing on record, behind the scenes, the government does realize the full economic situation, and they're hoping that things are getting better from here. They think that the worst, because of the pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, the Middle East crisis, all that they think is behind them. From here, they think things are likely to get better.
I still hope that we will see that Nirmala Sitharaman versus P. Chidambaram debate without any cross interruptions. I think that would enhance the quality of our democracy.
Till then, we have Sanju Verma versus Salman Soz.
Till then, Sanju Verma versus Salman Soz. And,
which wasn't bad either. It was pretty good.
Which, as long as they gave hard facts, it's okay. I keep saying every time Sanju comes on our channel, I add 3 grey hairs. So I guess my grey hairs have grown. But I wish her well. I wish Mr. Soz well. I wish all the political parties well in this general election here. I hope it's fought on real issues rather than making elections, as they will be, fought on emotional issues.